So for Alex Lowe's, tried to come back in. Jerez did a great job in the Super Pole session, got up on the front row of the grid, struggled for fitness in the first race and was then withdrawn. Returned in San Juan a month ago now, and couldn't make it to the end of that weekend either. Two races in one day, proving too much for him on the Sunday. So he returns again this weekend. He's had more time to recover this time around. Remember, when he first injured himself, it was part of that triple header, so it was an intense period, and that was fairly inevitable that he would struggle through that. San Juan also came on fairly quickly, just a couple of weeks after Portimao. He's had a longer rest period. He's also had a surgery since the last round.
Yeah, he was in Barcelona just after Argentina for surgery, and looks like his hand's fully repaired now, and that was one of the big issues in Argentina. Obviously, he's had the shoulder injury all the way through the season as well, so it's been a tough campaign for Lowe's, but hopefully this is the beginning of his recovery as well. Up there, fourth fastest on the opening run of the day as well, so certainly for him, he's going to want to finish his season strong. Obviously, he'll know that the winter testing program is going to start up pretty soon as well, so that's where job to help that MIE team bring their package forward.
Yes, he's one of the riders with most appearances in World SBK without ever snagging a podium finish, and I think that will be the target for him in the future. You get the impression that you've never quite seen him on the most competitive machinery to give himself the best possible chance of moving forward, but he is a capable performer, and that's why he keeps getting signed up over and over again. But it does tend to be with those smaller teams. Second stint here for Toprak Razgatlioglu. 2 fast laps immediately at the start of that second stint, and both of them fastest laps of this session. He's got his fastest time now down to a 1:36.389. So Toprak certainly showing the way. Jonathan Ray is the best part of a second behind him at the moment. He hasn't gone out, of course, yet for his second stint, but little doubt about it, this is going to be a fascinating season finale. Everyone weighing in with their thoughts ahead of this final round.
Yeah, even former world champion Troy Bayliss giving his thoughts on it, and he's dead right when he says it's not over till it's over, and you're going to expect to see.
Make no mistake, Jonathan Ray is going to give it everything this weekend to try and maintain that title. You don't become a 6 times world champion without being out onto track for their second stint. Jonathan Ray among them. You'd suggest that riders might perhaps have been expected to really put in as many laps as possible as far as track familiarisation was concerned.
Well, I think that's why we saw some awful lot of concentration to avoid making mistakes, and that's one of the big challenges for the riders. Physically, they can deal with that a lot because of how hard they train, and they're all prepared for that physically, but mentally as well, you can't afford to make mistakes.
Well, the ones who will struggle with it the most inevitably will be the riders who've been out injured, the riders still recovering from injury. I know Chaz Davies was not fully fit by any stretch of the imagination when he went to Argentina last time out, and bottom of the screen, just 10 laps completed for Ray during this session. I said it earlier on, his running had been fairly restricted, while Toprak Razgatlioglu's out there about to pull another 0.3 of a second at least off his previous fastest time. Jonathan Ray stranded in 8th position and stranded in the pit box with work ongoing.
Yeah, and with only 2.5 minutes left, it's not too likely that he's going to get it back out. At the very least, he might manage to just get an out lap to make sure that the bike's okay for the afternoon, but that might be all that he's able to do in this session.
Toprak Razgatlioglu then over the line. Second lap of this final stint for Razgatlioglu, and he does get down into the 1:34, so 1:34.985, and we're continuing to rub our eyes here in the commentary box with the alacrity with which Razgatlioglu has learned this circuit and is now pounding in the fast laps.
Yeah, 1.6 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Alex Lowe's up there in second fastest. Scott Redding 1.9 seconds off the pace. You can see there a bit of frustration for Jonathan Ray that he's not been able to get himself back out there after that first stint.
He was already starting on the back foot. He's going to feel even more on the back foot now. New circuit, first free practice session. Rivals storming away at the top of the timing charts, and 2.4 seconds down on him is Jonathan Ray. Now, clearly there's a tyre element to that. Clearly there's an element to which Toprak has been putting in an awful lot more laps during this session than Jonathan Ray. He's going to be on almost double the number of laps that Ray has managed by the end of this FP1. Razgatlioglu storming away then. I don't think he's got anything left in the locker to try and improve that time any further, although he does tend to be a man of surprises, doesn't he? Alex Lowe's improving on his latest lap as things stand. Likewise, Scott Redding has just crossed the line, 1:36.820. Michael Vandermark also moving up the order. He's doing a good job. Further back on the circuit, Alvaro Bautista in line to make some real progress. 1:37.3, his during this session, and we pick up the Spaniard now.
Yeah, could move himself up into the top 5 here. Bautista, 6th fastest, 2 seconds off the pace, so he's there pretty much the same kind of lap times as Vinales and Axel Bassani. Scott Redding a couple of tenths of a second faster, but Alvaro with time for another lap at the end of this session.
Well, I was going to say 2.5 seconds off the pace of Razgatlioglu, because to be perfectly honest, from Lowe's in second position down, there's very little to choose between them. Lowe's with a 1:36.529. That's Garrett Gerloff, who's just come across the line with a 1:36.585. So that's 1.6 seconds for Gerloff off Razgatlioglu. But from Lowe's all the way down past Jonathan Ray, who's now relegated outside of the top 10, but as you can see, makes his way onto the circuit just to check that the machine is in working order, with only 20 seconds remaining until the checkered flag falls. But from Lowe's all the way down to Leon Haslam and Chaz Davies in 12th and 13th positions, just a second covering all of those riders.
Yeah, it is close in that second group, and what's going to be really interesting to see is what kind of progress everyone can make between free practice 1 and free practice 2, because spotting Toprak a second and a half, you kind of hope that a lot of that's just the fact that Toprak was willing to push harder than them at this stage, but we also know that the Yamaha as a package tends to work really well everywhere we've gone through the course of this season, so Toprak's going to feel with his base setting that he's got a pretty good option right from the outset, and obviously the opening laps are going to give him more and more confidence as well.
What second group is that then? Razgatlioglu is a group all on his own in free practice 1, 1:34.985, a second and a half faster than his nearest rival as the checkered flag falls. It's Alex Lowe's who's second fastest, then it's Garrett Gerloff, Redding Vinales, Alvaro Bautista just recovering 6th place as he crosses the line, 1:37 flat for Bautista, so a couple of promising laps at the end of the session from the former world number 2. Axel Bassani 7th fastest, Michael van der Mark, Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Andrea Locatelli rounding out your top 10. Jonathan Ray completes his installation lap and he'll see the checkered flag.
Yeah, and Andrea Locatelli was the busiest rider out there as well. He's going to do 21 laps in this session himself, and Tito Rabat, and Toprak put in a lot of laps as well, 19 laps, and you'd imagine when you look at the time there from Alex Lowe's at 36.5, Toprak's going to have quite a few laps faster than that as well. When we see the session analysis at the end of the session, that's where we're really going to be able to see just how strong Toprak's been. It hasn't been one lap, I'd say you're looking at 5 or 6 laps that have been faster than anyone else.
You mentioned previously the crash for Tom Sykes in the second sector earlier on in the session. He made his way back to the pits as Toprak Razgatlioglu proves himself a real master of balance on the front wheel. He's like a performing seal at times, this man, isn't he? And he might have some more celebrations in store for us if he can claim the world title this weekend, which could be as soon as tomorrow.
Well, I'll be honest, no matter what Toprak's title celebrations could potentially be, they're not going to be anywhere near as spectacular as he is out in the racetrack, because we saw right from the start of this session how hard he was willing to punch. We saw his outlap. He was making moves on riders around him, and he's just brought the confidence that comes from the success he's had all the way through the season to bear all the way through, and looked really, really good right from the outset here. 2.5 seconds in hand, obviously, on Alex Lowe's shows just how strong it is, but Toprak's just put that pressure onto Jonathan Ray, and the technical issues that Ray had, that would have increased that pressure even more.
Do you think anyone in the team, maybe the suspension engineers, have to put their hands in front of their eyes when they see all the weight going onto the front tyre?
I think Paul Denning has to do that, the team manager, but for Yamaha and for Toprak, they want to make sure that they're focused on getting across the line, but like we saw from Ben Speed's tweet earlier on, sometimes for a rider like Toprak that's got that pace, got that consistency, got that confidence, you're better off just taking your normal approach. You're better off making sure you're being aggressive, trying to win the races, and then everything else will take care of itself. That's what Toprak has said all the way through this season. He wants to win races, everything else will just fall into place. It looks like from the start here in free practice 1, he's trying to make sure he does that.
And in fairness, Yamaha appear to have managed that process perfectly. They've said right from the start of the season, we don't want to change anything about Toprak. We know he's got the performance, we know he's got the winning mentality. We want to give him the freedom to express himself out on the circuit, and Toprak's been able to do exactly that.
Yeah, and I think when you look back at